Ladies and gentlemen, first of all, it's a great honor to be here with you and to share my experience on minority right issues in Slovakia. Please excuse my English and that I will be checking my notes occasionally, but it's been a while that I last had a presentation in English. Let me allow my crew. Next to me is my friend Todd Tibor, who is responsible for the technical background, so if anything goes wrong with the slide, he's the one to blame. But more important, he's also responsible for the educational part of this presentation, as he is the leader and the creator of the movement against discrimination in minority education in Slovakia. My other friend Cyprus Zoltan is here with me, and we represent the youth organization called Via Nova. As to myself, I am marked in the official program as a legal expert, which I'm really honored and flattered, but I consider myself as a lawyer. I'm an attorney who deals with minority issues during his pro bono work. But now, please consider me as a member of the Hungarian community in Slovakia who is here to ask for help. Let's get to the point. I will like to point your attention to the first slide. First of all, I want you to memorize one number, and this number is 110,000. This is the number we are here today, and this is the number we will be getting back throughout my presentation. This is a number which depicts the post-transition tragedy of Hungarians living in Slovakia. Between 1999 and 2011, the number of Hungarians living in Slovakia decreased by 110,000. This means that every day we are 15 people less. So this room would probably disappear in, let's say, 3 or 4 days. Even now that we are sitting here, there is one Hungarian less at home, as every half an hour we are one less. Today we are less than 500,000, and our number, as you can see, is constantly shrinking, and that's why we need help. One can ask, why is it so? The answer to this question is really complex. However, we shall concentrate now on the legal matters. There are several legal rules affecting our situation. The Constitution grants our status quo. However, the legal norms tend to violate this. For example, the latest amendment on the Act on Citizenship, depriving several hundred Slovak citizens from their citizenship against their own will. Is it unjust? Yes, it is. There are some other legal matters, as you can see, which aren't dealt with, but let's focus on the minority languages. There are two main legal rules I would like to point out. The Act on the National Language. This law defines the Slovak language as the superior language in Slovakia in paragraph 2. In my opinion, this violates the constitutional provisions, as the Constitution stipulates an anti-discrimination clause based on nationality. However, in this case, as soon as a baby starts to speak its mother tongue, which is obviously different from Slovak, it's discriminated, as it is speaking an inferior language. This is also violating EU legislation, as the Lisbon Treaty welcomes the diversity of languages, bans discrimination based on languages, and provides for equality among languages. All in all, the law on national language suppresses the minority languages on a legal basis. The other legal rule I would like to point out is the Act on the Use of Minority Languages. This should be the law that provides us with the legal basis for the use of minority language. This should be a complex document, but in reality it is only 2 pages. So what can you regulate in 2 pages? Not much. The important number here is 15%. This is a threshold. The rate of minority in towns or villages has to reach 15% in 2 consecutive censuses. In that case, the law obliges the local authorities to communicate also in the language of the local minority. This gives us the right to communicate, for instance, in Hungarian with the authorities in several towns or villages. Nevertheless, the legal rule, and this is the tricky part, liberates the authorities in the very same paragraph by stating that they or their employees are not obliged to know the minority language. Can you feel the irony? The authority on one side is obliged to communicate, but on the other side, it does not have to know the language. This would require the use of translators, which comes with additional costs and also it's really time consuming. The other side, and by this I don't mean the famous Red Hot Chili Pepper song, is the attitude of the Hungarian community. On the other hand, an average member of the minority is not able to use his right. Firstly, they may not know that they have the right to use their mother tongue. Secondly, they are not able to, because the official language used by authorities is not taught at schools. Furthermore, for several decades, it was not allowed or it was even forbidden to communicate, for instance, in Hungarian with authorities. This results in a lack of knowledge as generations grew up not using official minority languages, including my generation. And having touched the subject of schools, let's forward to the second part of our presentation, which is minority education. Whoa. Unfortunately, the system of minority schools in Slovakia is in danger again. Frankly speaking, it has never been in a good shape. It is obvious that the purpose of the government is to put additional burdens on the minority schools, thus to support the process of assimilation. We are missing institutions. The Hungarian school system does not cover the whole territory inhabited by Hungarians. The situation of teaching in minority language is unclear. All in all, we are missing a separate minority school system. Recently, the Parliament has passed an amendment of the Act on Education, under which, as you can see, 1/3 of Hungarian schools will be forced to be shut down. Politics will be involved with elementary schools. The number of Hungarian teaching classes will be cut down. This is the reality in 2016 in Slovakia. As to the first point, now, excuse me. According to the amendment, the law regulates the minimal number of students per class at elementary schools. It sets a threshold of 17 students per classroom. Not reaching this number, the schools should be closed. This represents an extreme danger to the smaller rural schools. All this affects 100 Hungarian schools in Slovakia, which should be closed starting this September. Having in mind that we have 261 Hungarian schools in Slovakia, this would mean a fatal interference with our education and mean a severe risk on our mere existence. Secondly, politics would be involved. In Slovakia, the elementary schools are co-governed by the local municipals, that is towns or villages. The mentioned act introduces the veto right of the local mayors on the election of the directors of elementary schools. I see this as an interference with the autonomy of the school council, which is the main governing body of each elementary school. This is the way how to get politics into school in a legal way. Under this, the person of the director will be dependent on the mayor, who can by chance be close to some political ideology. According to the Act on Education, the Slovak language has to be taught in a proper amount of classes in order to be learned by the students. The general view of the government is to have an equal number of Slovak and Hungarian classes at minority schools. By classes, I mean teaching classes. This attitude is reflected at the latest decree, which will come into force also this September. This governs the number of teaching hours of Slovak and minority languages at lower classes. According to this decree, the number of Slovak language and literature in Slovak schools will be 9 hours per week, as you can see. On the other hand, the number of Hungarian language and literature should be only 5 hours per week in Hungarian schools. That means that a Slovak child in a Slovak school has 9 hours per week to learn its mother tongue and literature. A Hungarian child in a Hungarian school has 5. On the other hand, the number of Hungarian language and literature should be only 5 hours, as I said. This is why we organized the movement and protest under the sign that 9 does not equal 5. In our view, the number of Hungarian classes should be raised. However, this is not possible, as the law sets a strict upper margin for weekly teaching hours. To sum up, ladies and gentlemen, we are on the verge to witness a final, fatal measure on the Hungarian minority in Slovakia. Not only will the Hungarian children be forced to attend Slovak schools, but those lucky ones whose school will survive the closing downs will be forced to study their own language in a reduced number of classes. Add a politically controlled director to this ill-minded story, and in a few years we will be history. And 110,000 is a number I want all of you to remember. Thank you.